You broke my heart, you broke my heart. Metro! It's the young one, a real bush, got his smoker, this ain't no Obama. Straight South Atlanta, finesse, arm and hammer. I say that with honor in Dior pajamas. Coupling of sports, but I went got that set. Bring it back to the truck, got respect for my brother. CIP troop on with Dookie, with slime and that slack, yeah, that slack, we don't care about no color. Put it on, put that drip on the map, yeah, the track, then I bought a few homes. Spent the 650, rose colored in the Bentley. Then I went Maybach two-tone, thought of two-tone. It's on my pandemic, must be too rich, I can't feel it. Told them to kill it. They tryna cut through the city. These tweeted and chillin'. Rappers mad, all in they feelings. Gonna they so drop top, parking lot pimpin'. Pimped out my wheels like exhibit. All my life I just wanted a million. What's on your wrist, Richard Millie? But look, Uzi when I'm out in Philly. Don't show you but was no pity. This time around we want all the money. 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 26 and all them love me. Watch on they wrists and all them flooded. We the real big dogs and y'all.
Guys, welcome back to Ramily Only. And on today's show, I got my guy, Stephen Gaither, host of WSSU Ram Nation, on the show today. And we got to talk about Saturday's disappointing loss. Stephen, so 48 hours later, how you doing, man?
I'm doing all right, man. I'm doing okay. How about you, Keith?
I'm doing much better today. Compared to Saturday, I'm doing much better.
Yeah, Saturday was rough, man. It was rough to watch.
Yes, sir. So let's get into it. What are your thoughts about how our Rams looked Saturday with so much on the line, especially on offense?
I think offensively they came out flat. I guess to play Monday evening quarterback, the play calling was not there. The execution wasn't there. And I know WSSU had a couple losses across the offensive line, a couple key guys out, but there seemed to be, it was just a hodgepodge of miscues and mistakes, from false starts to bobbled snaps to, just being out of sync. After the game, I talked to Coach Massey, and, he said how, he felt like, Dalen Lee, the quarterback, didn't really feel like seemed like he trusted his protection during the day. He also talked about, some of the RPOs, maybe there were some times they should have, held it or made a different play there as well. So I just think from start to finish, the offensive line struggled, and Dalen struggled. There wasn't much to go on offense. Again, the Rams didn't break into over 100 yards of total offense until into the fourth quarter. They spent most of their day pinned back up against their own goal line, which is never fun to play. I think watching the Rams this season, at points at their best they had been able to move the ball down the field and score. I think the best example of that is Shaw game, and as well as the Bowie State game. Those games stick out They had some success during the Livingstone game, but against the better teams, the better defenses, the Virginia Unions and the Johnson C. Smiths of the world, the offense, really struggled. I think, between those two games, you have 2 touchdowns. And it's just, it was discouraging to see such a regression after the previous year. It seemed like, for once, the Rams had kind of figured out this offensive thing. So, we'll get into it, but that was tough. I felt like the defense played valiantly for the most part. But I do think, eventually they wear down and they give, the offense puts them in a bad position to get that first touchdown. They did give up that field goal before the end of the half, which I thought was big. And then, we're in the third quarter and the defense has been bending, but not breaking, kind of how they had been doing all year, where they would kind of let you in between the 20s, you could kind of get there. But there have been points where they were able to kind of in that red zone or as they got closer to get takeaways or make stands. And they were on the road to doing that again until that play, that pass play on 4th and 17, which I think was a real backbreaker. So, special teams, I mean, the punter had a great game, but it's not really saying much when your punter is specifically probably your best player outside of that. It's not really the day that you want. And so, it was just a tough day overall from all that. And then not having beat out at the, not having beat out as the announcer. It was a rough day, unfortunately.
Yes, we definitely missed B-Dot's energy Saturday. You could notice a big difference. I definitely agree with you. The offense, I think, was the biggest reason why we lost Saturday. Like you said, they were constantly in bad field position, and they really struggled to move the ball on John C. Smith. And I think Coach Massey and I don't think we were aggressive enough with so much on the line. And like you said, when our punter was our best player, that's not good. Him having more yards than the offense, you never want that. He had 500 yards punting, and our offense only had 155 yards. So, like you said, I think our defense, I think they definitely wore down eventually because we just kept putting them out there on the field. And like you said, John C. Smith, they would have such long drives, and then our offense would get it and not give our defense much of a break before they're back out there. And eventually they did break a couple times. So I think that's basically what happened Saturday. Nareek Smith, second straight week, he had a interception. This time he took it to the house.
Yeah, I think for me, again, you mentioned the Virginia Union game. As an observer, it's just, against these top tier teams, all our blemishes showed. Whether it be conservative play calling, again, as we talked about early in the season, when we were winning those games, right? When we were 3-1 and 4-1, and we were winning those games, but we were settling for field goal. Settling for field goals, not only in the red zone, but inside the 10. Again, our offensive line for the most of the season has played solid ball, but once they started to get those injuries, that started to wear on them as well. And our defense covered up a lot at times this year, as far as getting takeaways, including getting points. Whether it's starting against Bluefield State, you took away that pick six that Fleming had, and the Bluefield State game is still a 27-3 game, which sounds okay, but when you look at the way that the other schools dominated Bluefield State, that should have sounded the alarm there. A&T, another situation where I guess you feel like everybody else might have been shocked in the stadium that you were close to them. But you shouldn't have been shocked that you were close to them. And again, to me, early in the season, the theme of playing not to lose just seems to have been what was happening. And, you felt good, when we got to the Bowie State game and Dalen was able to kind of have a breakout game. Then you took a step back against Union. But then the next two games, specifically the Shaw game, things seem to go over. But it's like when you look at those teams and those defenses, those are mediocre. Those are mediocre to bad CIAA teams. So when you play against a good CIAA team, we see what we have, what we get. So you hate to use the word fraudulent, but a lot of our success, again, when you come out against the best teams, it just looks a little funny in the light. And when the lights come on, that's when you want them to. That's when you want to perform. And I think outside of our defense and the punting situation, it just didn't happen.
I definitely agree with you, and I feel like against John C. Smith and Virginia Union, the mistakes we made against them, they made us pay for them. As you know, against other teams, they wouldn't always make us pay for them. And I think like you said, Coach Massey was okay with us kicking field goals against those teams that we were winning, and they didn't address our red zone woes. And then you're not going to beat Virginia Union and John C. Smith not being aggressive in the red zone and finishing drives. So I think that definitely showed against those two teams, and unfortunately, that ended our hopes at making the CIAA championship for the first time since 2016. Um, so, how do you think our Rams will respond next week? They have a bye week this week. I think that's going to be good for them to kind of reset mentally after such a crushing loss, especially for our seniors. How do you think our Rams are going to respond against Fayetteville State on homecoming?
Well, you would hope that they will respond. To show us that um I think you would hope that they would respond to put on a good show for the homecoming crowd. We put out, I know, the administration put out the call for 10,000 folks to come in, and we didn't have 10,000. We had a reported of just over 8,500, which, to be honest with you, I went back and looked at the stats. That's the highest attendance we've had since homecoming 2019. If you can believe
Wow.
that. And so, we had, it was a beautiful day. You had fans there. You put out the call for them, and I think you got a pretty good amount of them. Some of them folks went over to homecoming to Durham. Otherwise we probably get to 10,000. But I think those people, show people that do come back to this game show people that come for homecoming on Saturday that it's worth going in there to see you guys. I'm very, especially the older that I get, I'm very cognizant not to talk down on the players as individuals or anything like that. Obviously, they keep stats for a reason, and you can see certain things. But for me, I think obviously these young men are out there. They're playing hard. They want to execute and they want to win. And unfortunately, our program has had the wind taken out of its sails so many times over the last couple of years, and there was a glimmer of hope there. And unfortunately, Saturday it was dashed away. And but again, you're looking at a team that's won 6 games. They could win 7 and finish 7-3, which would be the best season that the Rams have had since the 2016 season when they won the championship. So, again, I would hope that, that amount of pride would be there. The senior day technically was Saturday, but for a lot of the seniors, this will be their final game at Bowman Gray. And, you want to, then there's also the motivation of beating Fayetteville State. Let's just be honest. These guys that are playing on this team right now, they've never beaten Fayetteville State. And even though Fayetteville State is not the Fayetteville State that we have seen over the years, they still got the same coach. They still wear the same colors. And they're going to no doubt come in there with the intensity of, crashing our homecoming. And so, with all those things on the line, there's still a lot to play for. And we'll talk about, too, the playoff scenario is out there. Very, 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 very stretch. It's
Yeah.
very much a stretch, but it's out there. So still a lot to play for. Even though the CIAA championship game, I mean, you need heaven and earth to move to get there. But so
Yes, and like you mentioned, we Fayetteville State has had our number. We're 1-5 in our last 6 matchups against them. Um, the last time we beat Fayetteville State in Bowman Gray was 2015. Uh,
yeah,
so we're due for so like you said, hopefully our seniors, this will be their last time playing in Bowman Gray. We got a lot of seniors on this team. I know senior day didn't go the way they wanted to go, so hopefully we have that motivation to end their careers in Bowman Gray on a high note. and beat a team like you said they've never beaten before. And hopefully during this bye week we can get things figured out on offense. Hopefully we can get a few guys healthy, and that way our offense can look their best against Fayetteville State, who, like you said, isn't the same Fayetteville State that we're used to seeing. But they still have our number, and we haven't been able to beat them. So, like you said, they're gonna come in motivated. They got John C. Smith this week, so they're going to be motivated to end their season on a high note. So we got to make sure we bring our best. And I think the biggest thing we need to do in this game is make sure we get Dalen Lee comfortable, whether it's getting him some easy throws to start the game or whatever it is. But like Coach Massey mentioned in the interview that you put out on your page, he felt like Dalen never got comfortable, and you could see that because Dalen, his throws weren't getting to his receivers. The pressure was getting to him. They were getting him off his spot, John C. Smith. So hopefully we make sure that we keep Dalen clean. He gets to have a nice clean pocket. He gets to um, get everything into his throws, and that way we can move the ball, finish drives, put up points on a Fayetteville State team that's given up a lot of points on defense this season. That they gave up 38 to Shaw this past weekend. So if we're able to protect Dalen, give him some time, I think we should have a lot of success on offense and establish the run game. I think that hurt us as well Saturday. Our run game was non-existent Saturday. We only had I think it was 23 carries for 47 yards. Trayvon Hester, he never got going. He ran into a brick wall, it seemed like every time. He had 12 carries for 24 yards. And usually, if we're going to do well on offense, we got to get him going, let him start wearing down the defense. And I feel like John C. Smith, they went into that game saying we're not going to let Trayvon Hester beat us. And they took him away. They took away our run game, and they let them pin their ears back on Dalen, and they were able to really get our offense out of rhythm, and we had a lot of short drives. So hopefully during this bye week we're able to fix that. And like you said, it's a lot on the line. It's a slim chance that we make the playoffs. We're going to talk about it in a little bit. But we got to win this game, or that doesn't matter at all because you got to handle your business, and then you got to get some help as well.
Yeah, I mean, you said it. You broke it down pretty well, man. It just again, the lights came on, and the Rams were shown to be MIA.
Yes, sir. And I think this was probably gonna be our best chance that we had at making the CIAA championship. Um, because as you look at it, we're gonna lose a lot of seniors off this team, and hopefully we do a good job in recruiting. But next year, I I'm not sure if we're gonna be able to follow up this season that we had this year because we're losing so much, especially on defense. We're losing a lot of guys on defense.
Yeah, and I'm probably going to talk about this in my video later this week. But yeah, it's definitely this was their year. This was their push to get there. Last year, again, Coach Massey's talked about it a lot. They lost a lot of games by a little bit. This year, early on, they were winning those games. And there was some excitement and there was some hope there, as you say, a very senior laden group. You talk about Fleming. You talk about Kyle Kamar. I'm sorry, Kamar Kyle, and so many other guys that have been key to the defense this year. They will be exiting the program. Last year, Coach, over the offseason, the staff brought in a number of transfers, and you hope that happens. I mean, the transfer portal is there for a reason. Smith got better in a hurry with transfer portal players there, but you just. Yeah, you have to wonder, like, this was supposed to be their year. This was supposed to be their group of guys. And unfortunately, again, improvement, but they're falling short of the standard that is here at Winston-Salem State, and that's championships. I tweeted yesterday that WSSU has not been to the CIAA championship game since 2016.
Ooh.
That is 8 years now. 7 football seasons. And if you look back at WSSU, since Bill Hayes showed up, not quite 50 years ago, there's only been one stretch similar to that in the mid to late 90s when Coach Kermit Blunt was a coach. He went from 1993 until winning the championship in 1999. And so, but for us not to even make the championship game, again after all of these years, it's a disappointment. And if we, you have to, it's an improvement, but it's also a disappointment, and two things can be true at the same time.
Yes, sir. And a lot, like you said, a lot of these seniors, they've already graduated and they came back to, pursue that CIAA championship and to hopefully make a playoff run. So I know they're hurting right now because, that's the big reason why they came back was to get that ring and hopefully win it for Coach Massey. So it's definitely disappointing that we won't be able to do that. Um,
Yeah, I mean it's definitely again disappointing. Again, shout out to those young men who decided that they would come back and play and try to get that CIAA championship again. You look at the history of our program over the last 50 years, 12 CIAA championships, and it's an expectation to, even if you don't get a championship, to be competing for them. And again, this is the closest that we've gotten in quite a while. And I'm sure those young men, came back with the intentions of, doing what they could to, I talked to some of them, doing what they could to, as the saying, the great slogan that we have is protecting the legacy. And I'm sure they were there trying to do that for themselves, and they got close. And unfortunately, they've ran into two teams that, were just better than them, better coach, better executed on those days. And but again, shout out to those young men for wearing the colors and doing what they got to do in the classroom. And they're going to go off to be really great productive citizens. And I was, I'll be honest with you, I fairly the journalism field, teaches you to be pessimistic. It teaches you to do all these things. But I was hopeful, especially in the early parts of the year, that this team could get there and compete for the championship. The Virginia Union game, I felt like that was a game that could be a turning point. I made a video talking about that, and it seemed like it was going to be. But then you show up looking like how they looked, again specifically offensively, but against the Johnson C. Smith in this Johnson C. Smith game, and it's disappointing. So, like you say, you hope again for those seniors, they get a chance to go out against Fayetteville State, go out and get a little bit of redemption there against them as they look forward to what's next in their lives.
Yes, sir. That was well said. And I think what hurts most about Saturday is it was the first time since 1975 that John C. Smith has beat us in Bowman Gray. You knew that wasn't gonna last forever, but it hurts
Yeah,
with so much
yeah.
on the line.
Yeah, no. That was a stat that I became aware of from their head coach. He talked about it in an interview with another media outlet back in September. And then I went and looked it up, and I saw that how long that streak had been. And it's tough. It's tough. Again, this is you hate for again, the streak isn't going to last forever, but you hate to see it end. I know those players hate that it happened on their watch. And people will say that Johnson C. Smith is 8-0, and they may well go on to win the CIAA championship, and they are a good team, but just for in terms of school pride and who we are, prior to this, to the last couple of years, there were just certain teams that WSSU has not lost to. And obviously things change, with the transfer portal, and so many things that change today. Things aren't as concrete as set in stone, but it felt like, last week they felt like they kind of exercised the demon against Livingstone. And then this year, they kind of opened back up another one against Johnson C. Smith. So, it's we say it's hard to be a Ram for a reason, and I think those things like that exemplify it.
Yes, sir. Like you said, it's not gonna last forever. But we definitely want to protect the legacy and don't want it to be this year with so much on the line. So I have to ask you, considering that we lost Saturday, we won't be going to the CIAA championship. We're 6-3 right now. We got one more game to go next week, homecoming. Right now, do you consider this season a failure or a success, considering we haven't had this many wins since like you said, 2017 was the last time we won this many games?
Um, I'm gonna say that I can't say it's a success. But coming into the season, I knew that I felt like WSSU was going to be better. I said 6-4 was possible, but now as they sit here at 6-3, um, again when you look at that A&T game, and you look at even this game, I think you feel like there were things that were left on the table. You feel like you know yeah, you just feel like there were some things that were left on the table, and yeah, I can't say it was success. It was an improvement. I would say it's an improvement. A success, I can't say that. The standard still has to be the standard, and and I think I think they fell short of it, but um, we'll see. Next year's a new year. Obviously things will not be the same next year. There'll be different players there. But I think again, when you're talking about this university and you're talking about the athletic department of um, where is it headed and where is football going? As we try to, continue to build and progress as a university, because the schools that we lost, a lot has been said this year about resources. The schools that we lost to this year, outside of A&T, but Johnson C. Smith and Virginia Union, they didn't get $1 million dumped in their lap by the state to play athletics, right? Obviously, Virginia Union's in Virginia, but Johnson C. Smith um, is a private institution, and so when the sports betting money came in from the state of North Carolina, um, you know, you had A&T, you had Central, you had Fayetteville State, Elizabeth City State, and us. We got $1 million. Johnson C. Smith and Virginia Union didn't, and yet their programs are just better than ours. And our coach has been there for not quite as long as Dr. Parker, but not too far behind. And so there's a lot of questions going into this next year, because like you said, this was a senior laden team. Is this the best? Have we seen the peak that we're going to see right now with the current administration? It's hard to say.
Yes, I definitely agree with everything you said. I know on offense, we're going to bring a lot of our skill position players back. Dalen Lee, he's going to be back next year. We're going to bring a lot of our running backs back next year. The offensive line, we're going to lose a lot of those guys, unfortunately. So, like you said, I can't say that this was a success because these seniors that came back for a championship, and we didn't get that. So, like you said, I would call it an improvement, because last year we were in a lot of these games, we just couldn't finish them. The defense couldn't get a stop, or the offense couldn't, get that clutch drive to win the game. It was either one of those two. And I know in the Fayetteville State game last year, we got up big on them, and then we let out the gas completely and let them back in the game. I know John C. Smith last year, we put up 30 on them, and they had one of the top defenses in the CIAA, and we just couldn't finish that game. And this year we did a better job of doing that when we were in those close ball games. Um, but when we got up against the two best teams outside of our university, we just didn't, show what we could do. We didn't, like you said, I feel like we left a lot on the table when we played Smith, when we played Union. And A&T, we were up 3, and we let them back in it, and then they scored the game-winning touchdown in overtime. And unfortunately, we're their only win right now, and I kind of wish we had finished that one, because that loss isn't looking too good right now. um,
Yeah,
Considering how they
yeah,
how they've looked ever since they played us, look like we were their Super Bowl, and they've been taking on the chin ever since.
yeah. No, it's I mean, it definitely is. I mean, yeah, and people will say that you went toe to toe with an FCS school, and that's true. That is the case. But if you look at even the recent history of the CIAA, a good CIAA team can beat a bad Division I team. We saw that with Virginia State beating Norfolk State a couple years ago, 2 years ago, well, last year. And then we also saw Bowie State, who finished 6-4. Like we may finish 6-4, but they still were able to finish up against the bad Delaware State team. And that game was well in our grasp, and we let that one go as well. So it's tough. It's tough, thinking about what could have been. But now, we just have to look forward and see, what changes. What changes are going to happen. So it's going to be fascinating.
Yes, I definitely would say I think we definitely missed Chris Barnett this year. Him moving on to a D1 university. I'm happy for him, but we definitely miss him because of how explosive we were on offense last year. We couldn't finish games, but we were, it was night and day compared to previous years when we struggled to get to 20 points. We would have to get some defensive touchdowns or something. It
Right.
was a struggle getting to 20 points before he came along, and I wish we would have got more than one season with him here at Winston State. So I definitely think we miss him. I know they said offense is the same, but it's not as explosive as it was last year. You can tell we definitely miss him.
Yeah, I mean, even if it is the same, I think, is the leash as long for the current coordinator? I don't know. Um, you know, I just don't know. I just feel like there were a lot of times where um a little risk taking could have helped, and it just kind of seemed like a 180 again. For me, it just seemed like a lot of times watching them play not to lose, offensively specifically, the play calling, and that's unfortunate for the players, for sure. Because that's important. I mean, just like the other day when they punted it at midfield, a lot that took a lot of the air, not only out of the players and on the sidelines, but out of the crowd as well. So tough sledding right now.
Yes, speaking of that 4th and 1, I was very upset. I know the game was out of it was out of hand, and but you still want to see your team being aggressive. It's 4th and 1 at midfield. You got a back like
But
Trayvon
was it
Hester.
really out of hand, man? I mean, it's 24. It's 24/7 at that
Yeah,
point.
yeah,
You score, and I believe there were like 8 minutes left. Because if it was that out of hand, then why even try an onside kick in 2 points?
yeah,
6 minutes later, you can count on that. You could look at a lack of sense of urgency, going down the stretch, even on that last drive when they scored the touchdown. To my recollection, there was maybe 2:13 left on the clock. There was 2:13 on the clock when the one play ends, and instead of rushing to try to get another play in, they just kind of waited for the 2 minute. And I was like, well, you guys are down, right? This is kind of not what you want to do. But, you know, um, none of that's going to help us now. But, going forward, I think, again, I think philosophy is going to be something that people are going to have to look a lot at with these Rams. And they'll talk about how close it could have been and what kind of, honestly, I think the only game that we were truly, I know, I think the one game, I don't think I'm going to say this, the one team that had twice as many scholarships as us only beat us by 7 points.
hmm
The other two teams do not have twice as many scholarships as we have, and they beat us decidedly better. So what does that mean?
just came down to coaching. So like you said. Um,
Here we are.
So let's to close out. Let's talk about the playoffs. The rankings came out today. So I'll let you speak on this because you know far more about this than I do. I see we came in at number 10 in the rankings today. Was this the first rankings that have come out, or
Yeah, so this is the first ranking, and the way that the Division II playoffs come out, the regional rankings are kind of lets you know who's on track to make the playoffs. This is the first ranking, and the first ranking is actually alphabetical. So because we're WSSU, we're at the back end of it. Um, Starting next week, you will get a 1 through 10, I believe, and those will be ranked. Those will be ranked. So again, next week, we will see We'll see. Again, we'll be idle this week, so we'll see if we stay on the list. And then in a couple weeks, that'll determine who goes to the playoffs. Because right now there is no auto bid. They are working on getting that. And so the top 7 in the region will go to the playoffs. And so right now you want to be in that top 7. So we'll see next week where we are numerically. If we still there at all, and if we are we 10. It'll be interesting to see. But yeah, so right now that's where we are.
So we pretty much
But it's yeah. You would need a lot of teams to lose. You would need a deluge of 2 lost teams, and then you would need the teams that you played against, ideally Union and Smith. You would need one of those 2 teams to just really be. You need both of those teams to be dominant and then put on a good championship show. And then I still don't even know if that's an impossibility. I just don't know that the Seattle Blues will get 3 teams in the region. Even though the SIC may not get one, they might get one, but they may get none. So, it's tough. It's kind of fool's gold right now, to be honest with you. But you play out the season. You win next week. You finish 7-3, and you'd be 7-2 in Division II games, which are the only things that count. And so, it would be it would be nice, but I wouldn't hold my breath.
all right. So basically, just handle our business next week, and then let the rest take care of itself, pretty much.
Yeah, pretty much.
So it would have helped if we could have won Saturday. Then I think we would have had a much better chance of making it. But since we lost last Saturday, and 2 teams that are ahead of us, I feel like when the rankings come out next week, that's gonna hurt us. The head-to-head tiebreaker. So like you said, we need them to be dominant, and then hopefully one of them loses. Because like you said, we doubt that they'll put 3 CIAA teams in there, but you never know. So we just have to wait, handle our business, and then just wait and see, pretty much.
Yeah, I think the thing that you do have, you look at the 2 teams, you look at the wins that we have. So you have a Shaw team that just won its 5th game. Next week is their last game, so they might get 6 wins. If they're able to get 6 wins in their season, um, that's a win that you got. Then you got Livingstone, which you also beat, who plays Shaw. So one of those teams are going to have 6 at least 6 wins on the season. And then at the end of the season, Smith plays Livingstone.
Yes.
So you could have a Livingstone finish at 6-4, a Shaw finish at 5-5, or 6-4. You would have a win over them. And then, if Virginia State continues to win, they'll finish the season, maybe 6-4. So you have a couple wins over teams that are over 500, but still, you got to feel like a lot of dominoes have to go right for them to make the playoffs.
Unfortunately, yes, that's true. So my guy, I want to definitely thank you for joining me on the show today. It was definitely fun chatting up with you. Guys, make sure you subscribe to my page, and make sure you subscribe to his page as well. And if you need me to say that again, that's WSSU Ram Nation. Follow him. He's trying to get to 500 by his birthday Friday. So hopefully you guys can help him do that. That would be lovely. And Ramily, hope y'all enjoy the bye week. And I need us 17,000 strong for homecoming in Bowman Gray. Tickets are $50. I know that price may be a lot to some people, but you can put that on your parlay. You can give it to your Rams and support them. So,
Right.
so let's support our Rams. It's best to go ahead and get your tickets online because everything is digital. I found that out Saturday when I went to the game. Parking is digital, tickets are digital. So just go ahead and go ahead and purchase tickets online. That way you don't have to stand in a long line on homecoming for people who probably don't know that that everything's digital. So you can just go right in the
Right.
gate.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Looking forward to it.
Yes, sir.
Act like you rich, you don't take care of your people. Those are type they can't get a feature. Number under the bleachers. You know on hip like a beeper. Who the said it was cheaper to keep her? Wake up, get so fresh, I thought it was Easter. A lot of these rappers just follow the leaders. I've been on my lap, but I got a few Ninos. Look at my chest, you gon' see Aquafina. Look at my got a fat